Question. An analytic pipeline needs the model to return the top 5 candidate next tokens with their probabilities so it can measure confidence. Which request feature exposes this? A. Seed. B. Tool choice. C. Log probs with top log probs. D. Response format. Pause the video if you don't want the answer yet. Correct answer, C. Log probs with top log probs. Why C is correct? The requirement is return the top 5 candidate next tokens, include their probabilities, confidence, support analytics and confidence measurement. Question. A concurrency limited service keeps hitting request rate limits during traffic spikes even though average usage is low. Which quota dimension is most likely being exceeded and should be examined first? A. The content filter severity threshold. B. The number of few shot examples in the prompt. C. Tokens per minute and request per minute limits on a deployment. D. The embedding model's dimension setting. Pause the video if you don't want the answer yet. Correct answer, C. Tokens per minute and request per minute limits on a deployment. Why C is correct? The symptoms are traffic spikes cause rate limit errors, average usage is low, a concurrency limited service. Azure OpenAI Foundry deployments enforce quota limits such as requests per minute RPM, how many requests can be submitted per minute, tokens per minute TPM, how many input-output tokens can be processed per minute. During a spike, the service might briefly exceed RPM or TPM limits even if overall average consumption remains low. Question. A regulated bank needs guaranteed, reserved model capacity with predictable latency for a high-volume assistant and is willing to pay for reserved throughput. Which deployment type fits best? A. Global batch. B. Serverless embedding endpoint. C. Provisioned throughput, PTU. Global standard pay as you go. Pause the video if you don't want the answer yet. Correct answer, C. Provisioned throughput, PTU. Why C is correct? The key requirements are regulated bank, guaranteed reserved capacity, predictable latency, high volume production workload, willing to pay for reserved throughput. Provisioned throughput, PTU, is specifically designed for workloads that require dedicated, reserved model capacity and consistent performance. PTUs reserve processing capacity for deployment, providing predictable throughput and latency characteristics that are well suited for mission-critical applications. Question. A nightly job scores millions of archived tickets where a 24-hour turnaround is fully acceptable and cost must be minimized. Which processing option is most appropriate? A. A fine-tuned real-time deployment. B. Global batch deployment. C. Real-time streaming completions. D. Provisioned throughput deployment. Pause the video if you don't want the answer yet. Correct answer, B. Global batch deployment. Why B is correct? The scenario highlights millions of archived tickets, nightly processing, 24-hour turnaround is acceptable, lowest possible cost is the priority. This is exactly the use case for batch processing. Batch deployments are optimized for large-scale asynchronous workloads, offline processing, cost efficiency over latency, jobs that don't require immediate responses. Question. After a newer model version is released, a production assistant must keep behaving identically until the team validates the upgrade. How should the deployment be configured? A. Pin a deployment to a specific model version. B. Increase the deployment's TPM quota. C. Switch the deployment to global batch. D. Enable auto update to the default model version. Pause the video if you don't want the answer yet. Correct answer A. Pin the deployment to a specific model version. Why A is correct. The requirement is keep production behavior stable, prevent unexpected changes from a newer model release, upgrade only after validation and testing. By pinning the deployment to a specific model version, production continues using the exact model build that was tested and approved. Question. A JSON emitting endpoint sometimes returns 3 answers when the caller expects exactly 1 candidate to parse. Which parameter controls how many completions are generated per request? A. Stop. B. Top P. C. N. D. Best of. Pause the video if you don't want the answer yet. Correct answer C. N. Why C is correct. The requirement is the caller expects exactly 1 completion. The endpoint sometimes returns multiple answers. Need to control how many completions are generated. The N parameter specifies the number of completions the model should generate for a single request. Question. A team wants smoother, more coherent long-form prose and decides to constrain sampling to only the most probable tokens whose cumulative probability crosses a threshold, rather than adjusting the temperature. Which parameter does this? A. Logit bias. B. Max completion tokens. C. Top P. Nucleus sampling. D. Frequency penalty. Pause the video if you don't want the answer yet. Correct answer C. Top P. Nucleus sampling. Why C is correct. The clue is constrain sampling to only the most probable tokens whose cumulative probability crosses a threshold. That is the definition of nucleus sampling, top P. With top P, the model sorts possible next tokens by probability, selects the smallest set of tokens whose combined probability reaches the specified threshold, samples only from that set. Question. A reasoning-heavy planning agent must chain many intermediate steps reliably for complex math and logic, and the team accepts higher latency and cost. Which model choice aligns with the requirement? A. An embedding model. B. A small distilled chat model tuned for speed. C. A dedicated reasoning optimized model. D. A transcription model. Pause the video if you don't want the answer yet. Correct answer C. A dedicated reasoning optimized model. Why C is correct. The key clues are reasoning heavy planning, many intermediate steps, complex math and logic, reliability matters more than speed, higher latency and cost are acceptable. A reasoning optimized model is designed for tasks that require deeper multi-step thinking, planning, logic, math, and problem solving. These models are better suited when the assistant must break down complex problems, chain reasoning steps, evaluate alternatives, handle math or logic-heavy workflows, produce more reliable plans for difficult tasks. Question. A cost dashboard must attribute spend per feature. Which response field should the pipeline record to compute per call cost accurately? A. The system fingerprint field. B. The finish reason field. C. The tool calls array length. D. The usage token counts, prompt and completion tokens. Pause the video if you don't want the answer yet. Correct answer. D. The usage token counts, prompt and completion tokens. Why D is correct. To calculate the cost of an API call accurately, you need the token usage information returned in the response. Prompt input tokens. Completion output tokens. Total tokens. Cost is typically based on the number of tokens processed. Question. A team observes that identical requests produce slightly different wording even with a fixed seed, and wants to know when the backend model build changed. Which response field helps detect backend changes? A. Object. B. ID. C. System fingerprint. D. Created. Pause the video if you don't want the answer yet. Correct answer. C. System fingerprint. Why C is correct. The question says, same prompt, fixed seed, output wording still changes slightly. Need to know if the backend model build changed. The system fingerprint field is specifically intended to help identify changes in the backend serving configuration. If the fingerprint changes between requests, it can indicate that the underlying model deployment or serving infrastructure changed, which can affect reproducibility even when using the same seed. If this was successful, please like and subscribe so that you get notified when I've released new questions.